Today we've got the wonderful Sam to share his wonderful experience with us. One of the first times I gave a talk here on Saturday, Sam introduced me. I think I get to return the favor. And we had this kind of whole thing of like, why the hell did we meet? It was 2013-ish, so around that time. What can I say about this man? A beautiful, that's probably a terrible word, of beauty. Oh. Okay. He's a real jewel, and he loves jewels. He's a passionate jeweler. And what he's talking about today is not just beauty, but also, I think, spiritual jewels, and what you're going through, with your content. And also, like me, I think you and I both have to grapple with the tyranny of chairs.
Yes, yes, yeah, that's right. I'm too short not to talk.
Yeah, I just love sitting on the ground, just for the sake of our online friends. Sam's training for ordination as well in our tradition. And every so often, between different series of talks, we invite along some of our friends in the community to share some of their personal experience. And yeah, you're going to get it from this man today, his own personal take on things.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Over to Tom.
Thank you, Mitra. Okay. Can I just get a show of hands for who's new to this practice, like to Tree Rattan, to this centre? New, okay, good. Yeah, cool. Everyone else has been around for a bit. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll start from the beginning for everyone's sake. So my name is Som, and I've been coming to this centre for about 6 or 7 years now, and I'm what they call a GFR Mitra. So that's jargon for, I think, I'm a Buddhist practitioner, but I have also made a commitment to go deeper. And that going deeper is still something I'm trying to explore as to what that actually means. And this is what this talk is about. So as I said, I'm a practitioner, and I'm inspired by the Buddhist path. And Tree Rattan is the context, this Buddhist center, this order, is the context in which I practice. What I'm about to say, if you don't vibe with it, right, if you don't like it, find another way into Buddhist practice and the Dharma, because it's just my way of saying things, right? Don't take it as gospel. Okay, and this talk is about me. It's not me giving you a teaching. What do I know? I'm trying to unpack and unravel a personal experience I'm going through. And by sharing it, hopefully we can kind of make sense of it. And if you can glean something from it, please do. And the thing I'm going to share is not a teaching as such, but it's an image that came up in my mind and in my being. Where it came from, I'm not quite sure. It probably had different kind of things feeding it, right? I think it came from conversations with order members like Kamabhadra, order members like Viramuni, and other friends. There are also these things called suttas, which are Buddhist texts, right? And I think it came from that as well. So a lot of these things kind of fed this image that came up in my mind. And I think it came up during meditation. I think so. I don't quite recall. But the way in which I treat it, and I hope you can treat it, is like, it's like a poem. To me, it's like a visual poem. And like a poem, it invites many interpretations. It is to be held lightly. There are elements of truths in it, and it's something you can revisit every once in a while to get something new out of it. Okay, so I'll set the scene in terms of the foundation and what was happening in my life when this image arose. So about 2 years ago, I turned 40, and I said to myself, Som, this is the time to have a midlife crisis. It's very decisive about it. So I took pause from my work and went overseas. I really wanted to go to Europe for whatever reason. So I went overseas for about 8 months. And I was decisive in what I wanted to do. I wanted to visit cities that, for whatever reason, I just really wanted to visit, right? And these cities were places like Helsinki, Oslo, Stockholm, Hamburg, London, Manchester, and also Florence and Rome, because why not, right? And I had a lot of fun. I did all the touristy things, right? Because the worldly world is fun, right? But I also visited a lot of our Buddhist centers in those cities. We have, our Triratna Center has like different kind of like, centers across Europe. Met lots of different practitioners and different people. And they're all very interesting. And I got to see, everyone's a Buddhist and they all practice differently. Yeah. I also went to a men's meditation center called Padmaloka, and it's in a township, I guess, that's about 5 hours north of London, called Surlingham. And I spent about 2.5 months there and did 3 back-to-back retreats, 2 of which Vera Mooney joined me on, and we had a great time there. Words that come to mind from that experience, there was so much that happened, but if I had to pepper words to describe what happened there, it would be things like beauty, depth in meditation, devotion, and also friendships with different practitioners, spiritual friendships with different practitioners. So something was brewing after this whole experience of worldly fun and spiritual, I guess, practice. So when I came back to Sydney, back here to the Sydney Buddhist Centre, I know I wanted to change and I wanted to grow. But in which direction and what that looked like, I didn't know. There was just like a thrust and energy that wanted to come up, right? Maybe it was the midlife thing. I don't know. But I felt the only way to honor that kind of energy was to experiment, to change things up, to see what I could do, to feel a sense of alignment with that, right? And what happened when I started to do things that the opposite of what I used to do, right? Because upon reflection, before going to Europe, my practice here at the center was like, I was trying to be a good boy. I was trying to be a good Buddhist, a good person, and whatever that means, right? So I had to shift and change things around just for experimentation's sake, but also it felt right. So for example, I used to have a strong focus on meditation here at the center and in my personal practice. I still do. But I had this urge towards devotion more. I really just simply wanted to worship the bodhisattvas. And the bodhisattvas, they're not here today. They might be, but they're invisible. But they are like, I see them as symbols of what the enlightened being is like. So for example, one bodhisattva that I'm very much aligned to now is White Tara. And she's a female Buddha, and she, to me, encompasses compassion, but this kind of like compassion and love, but this kind of, this is not the right word, but it's something like an aloof kind of love. And I just really like it for some reason. There has to be a better word for that, but I'll come back to that. So I focused a lot on devotion, and that felt right. I felt right in my being to do so, even though it didn't look like serious practice to others, maybe. Before going to Europe, I used to come to the Buddhist Center every Monday night, which is men's study night, religiously, pardon the pun. But then when I came back, I was like, I'm going to play around with this. I might attend on Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights or what have you and see what that felt like. I eventually returned back to Monday nights because I felt that was right, but I needed to experiment. I needed to play Prior to going to Europe, I used to think I had to make an appearance at everything that happened at the SBC, at the Sydney Buddhist Centre. Whenever there was a day that was happening, I had to make an appearance like a good Buddhist, right? Now, I just turn up when I feel like I want to. Ooh, you know, rebel. And finally, prior to going to Europe, I used to think, it's funny how these things just kind of like get into your mind and you don't even know it. I used to think that material comfort and safety was not part of the spiritual life, right? I don't know how that got in my mind. But when I came back, I was like, for whatever reason, I don't know, I had this urge to make a home. I just wanted a safe space. So I spent a big part of last year and also this year finding and buying my own home, and I'm still in the process of doing that now, right? But as I was doing these things, I had some thoughts that came up. That's not what a good Buddhist does. That's not real practice. You know, you just came back from 3 months overseas practicing in depth at the Buddhist Center. Shouldn't you come back and apply yourself wholeheartedly to the Buddhist practice? I don't know if that resonates in any way at the Buddhist Center or in other parts of your lives. So as I was doing the things I felt like I needed to do and also hearing these voices, there definitely was a tension. There was this tension, right, of like this and then this. And this is when this image arose. So I saw myself as a seed in soil, right? And the thing that was nourishing this seed was definitely Buddhist practice and the Triratna context. I very much value that. But there are other things that nourish this seed. There is my culture background, you know, so Chinese, Cambodian, Vietnamese, so many eases there, feeding this seed. My upbringing as a Buddhist outside of this context. My work, I very much value work. My love of the arts and literature, it all just feeds into this seed, right? Which will make me a unique being. And this seed is growing, right? There's a growing and it's bursting out. There's tension and there is pain into its second flowering because I am middle-aged. And it comes out and it's blossoming, right? And I want to add a side note here. You will see in a lot of Buddhist iconography, there's lots of images of flowers. I'll leave you to think about and contemplate why. So I'm growing. And the flower I'm becoming, I've decided, is a beautiful, beautiful gardenia. I looked at the shrine today and I was like, if that was a gardenia, it would have been so like on brand. Not a gardenia. Clearly, right? And it's dying. But I am a gardenia, and there's something, and I kind of, if I had to intellectualize, I probably know why, because gardenias to me are irresistibly beautiful and fragrant, and you can't help but walk past and just like, I really want to sniff that. It's just so captivating, right? Fleshy, white, beautiful. And the other reason is because I'm a big fan of vocal jazz music and singers like Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday. And the legend has it that Billie Holiday, before she got on stage, she would pick up a fresh gardenia and put it in her hair. Isn't that just beautiful? Anyway, so I'm this gardenia. And as I'm growing, I'm looking around to every other order member, practitioner, anyone else. But I was a little bit like shocked. I was like, they're not gardenias. they're all different kinds of flowers, right? And shrubs and trees and other kinds of like vegetation. They are, I'm going to take wild guesses here. A sunflower, right? They are lilies. They are irises, lotus, gum tree. You get the picture, right? And you all have your different patches of soil. But we do think back in the sense that tree right now is there somewhere, right? Is there tension in the way in which we grow in the same flower bed, being different kinds of flowers and all vying for the sunlight? Yeah, I think there is. Energetically, it feels like this. Sometimes it's like this kind of jostling for sunlight. This kind of like, I want the sun, I want the sun. No, you man out of the way. But I think there's also support because we're growing next to each other. There's this kind of like support pushing up, right? So my offering to you today is this very image, this very visual poem, for you to hold in your mind as a Buddhist practitioner or out there in the world somewhere, or both. If I had to put into words what this image means for me, it'd be this. And I'm going to use a lot of language where I'm pointing to myself. I'm just talking about myself here. It's about individuality. I need to keep taking note of who I am and the gardenia that I'm meant to be. And my responsibility is to do that and to grow and blossom in the best gardenia I can be. The other point is respect. I need to respect that others around me are different kinds of flowers and would need different kinds of nourishment. And vice versa. Sometimes I can reflect on what are my patches of soil and what is nourishing me at that particular time. And if I think about this image, sometimes I can think about being at different parts of the image. So for example, if I'm with a friend, a spiritual friend, sometimes I might say to myself, oh, right now I'm not the gardenia, I need to be the soil for this person. Whatever soil they need to be to blossom into that kind of flower that they are. And finally, this is my favorite part. As flowers growing towards the sunlight, I always have to look up in wonder and in awe of the beauty and the radiance that is the Dharma. That's it.